Hello, hello, hello. Anybody there? Anybody home? What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I'm not on the screen just yet, but here I come. I'm showing up right now. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Easter. Did you have a good Easter, Shannon? Did you have a good Easter?
Absolutely.
You had a good Easter?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So it is Monday. I'm just getting started here. And my system's not coming up over here for some reason. Let me see if I can fix that. But so apparently some things happened over the weekend. Pope Francis, one of them, 88 years old, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
88 years old. And it was the day after Easter.
Yep.
The
Monday
day
morning.
after the day we recognize Christ for the resurrection. Is it a little interesting that it was the day after, or is it just me? Is it just me? That it was the day after? What do you think? I mean, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, it was the day after.
Yeah.
My question to everybody is, and I just want to talk about this. We're going to talk about some of the other crazy stuff, but I guess who's going to replace him?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Who's going to replace him?
Especially people that are looking at end time prophecy and such.
Yep.
They're really,
Yep.
Wondering and guessing who's next.
Who's going to
possibly
replace him?
be the?
It could be the false prophet.
The false prophet, yeah.
And very well could be the false prophet that's going to replace him, which I can see that happening. I can see the false prophet replacing him. And because only reason why I say that is because I see a lot of things that the Bible would tell us would happen in the last days. I'm seeing it. Some people don't see it. Some people don't choose to see it. Some people do see it and they still ignore it. But I'm not going to ignore it. Because, you get a lot of people say, but Will Johnson, they've been saying the end time's going to happen for thousands of years. Thousands of years. True. But the earth has never been in this position that it's currently in right now. They never had these red heifers for 2,000 years the way they do now. The technology has never been like it has been on this planet before now. And when I talk about the technology, because, in the Bible, it says that it will force everybody, rich or poor, free or slave, to receive the mark. And I have my suspicions on what the mark is and what that's going to be, what that's going to look like. But, the Bible tells us that you will not be able to buy or sell without it. And in our world today, that's clearly a digital thing. I mean, some people say, well, it's just what's in your mind, what you think, right? Well, how do they know? Because if it's just in my mind with the way I think, I could go and purchase something. Let's say I'm getting ready to go purchase something. And I just lie to them, because I need the bread and milk. And I could just lie to them just so I can get the bread and milk and be on my way. Then after I go and I get it. But it's but Will Johnson, if you're a Christian, you can't lie. Christians lie too. That's the reason why we go to church. Church is the hospital for our spirits, right? So we can go there and learn what we need to do. We'll go there and learn what we need to do. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. But people will do whatever it is they need to do to survive. That's what people do. That's what man has always done. I don't care who you are. And technically, if you just tell them one thing just to get the bread and milk, you can kind of like, Lord, forgive me. Shannon, do you think if it came down to the point to where you have to, because I'm talking about, like, if they say the mark of the beast is just in your mind, because I've had conversations with countless people that said it's just in your mind. But I don't me personally, I don't think that, because I mean,
so what would you do?
I'm marking your
when
mind and
you
your
can't-
forehead or your hand. I mean, like, so you can have the way your hand thinks. I mean, I don't buy that personally. But if you have to go get bread and milk based on if it's just in your mind, do you think God is going to be upset with you because you said something else to get the bread and milk for your family?
That's what I was just gonna say. I don't think it aligns with buying milk and bread.
Yeah.
It's just in your mind, but people don't want it to be a hard thing. Let's be honest. They don't
want
want
an
it
easy
to
ride.
be a decision like if it's in your head or hand. They don't want to face that challenge. We want it to be as easy as it will be on us.
Right.
That's what I think.
No, I agree. A lot of people, just like, because of the end times, people think, a lot of people, and I don't want to get this fight and argument with people about it, but a lot of people think that we don't even have to worry about it. Just don't even think about it. Just go about your business.
Now,
because we won't even be here experiencing any of it anyways, which is partially true, because we're not guaranteed to tomorrow. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not even guaranteed the rest of the day.
Yeah. Now,
I mean, so, but let me say, but with that said, a lot of people believe that that the rapture is going to happen before all of this crazy stuff that is supposed to take place in the Bible. But I've never read it that way. Now, people put it out there and they put their opinions about it, but they never go and say, well, right here it says you don't have to worry about it. You can just sit on the couch, don't think about it, because nothing's going to happen to you. I've never read that. Now, there's a lot of people that have the speculations on this is what it's supposed to mean, regardless of what it just says. There's two different things there, right? And like, look, I've had people that call themselves Christians. Will Johnson, I don't like you anymore because you believe that we're gonna be here to have to endure all of this. You believe that we're gonna be here, and that's not what it says. Well, now I always welcome them to show it to me, and it's, well, I'm not gonna follow you anymore. People said that.
Okay.
And I'm like thinking to myself, okay. I mean, who am I to argue with them, right? I mean, people have their opinions, but I'm not going to base my opinions off I'm not going to apply my opinions to the Bible. If the Bible says one thing, then it says it. Right? I'm not going to try to add something to it. And some people go, but Will Johnson, that's exactly what you're doing. No, I'm not.
Well, I would like to say, Will, and we have some friends that are, pretty much that's all they do is study end times. And that is End Time Ministries. And they have a Facebook page, which I would like everybody to really follow. It's interesting because this past weekend they were posting a whole bunch of stuff, including, Will, it was, I believe, Thursday or Friday, they said, will America be part of the one world order? They say, according to what they've read and they've studied in the Bible, and they back up everything they say with scripture, they're saying that America will not be a part of that one world system, and they give you reasons for why. But they are, this morning, Dave Robbins, who we've had on our show, and we've been to End Time Ministries actually several times up there in the Dallas area. He's watching this very closely on the death of the Pope, and he said too, could this be the opening for the false prophet? He also talked about how last week the EU was talking about how they need to relook and rethink about this one world order, European Union, and such. So, and I would like to also say that this weekend, Trump pretty much said that he believes talks with Iran are over, because Iran is not cooperating. Iran said that they're going to continue with their nuclear.
Really?
And yes, I was reading this, and it's funny because this isn't huge news. I think this should be huge news, but it's not. You can Google it though, because they're saying they're going to continue with their nuclear objectives. Now, if we recall, a couple weeks ago, Trump said that would be a very bad thing to do, because if he needed to stop them with military force, then he would do that. So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff brewing.
Yeah, things are. I mean, even though a lot of people, well, we got Trump in the White House, we don't have to worry about anything. Just sit on the couch, do nothing. Don't Don't talk about anything any longer. We got Trump in the house. We did our part. We don't have to do anything else. That's how we got in the position that we were in before President Trump went into office, because people did not do their part.
And you know what? Well, now that I'm thinking about it.
Let me say this real quick, because now that Trump is in the office, this is when we really need to kick in the gears. Mm-hmm. We really need to, I mean, you know, President Trump, he's the first president that I've ever known to even stand up for religious freedoms as a Christian. Yeah. Joe Biden didn't do it. Uh-huh. Obama most definitely didn't do it. I don't even recall Bush. Maybe Ronald Reagan did it. I was too young. Maybe some of y'all that remember Ronald Reagan, maybe you were a little bit older than me. Maybe some of you remember that. I'm not saying that Ronald Reagan didn't do it, but I'm just saying the first president that I've ever known to say anything about Christian and about us being Christians and us having our religious freedom is President Trump.
Yeah, well, Ronald Reagan was very much a very Christian man, and that was well known. Mm-hmm. Trump, I think, has emerged and really evolved into a Christian. I mean, he says he always believed, but I think he is a Christian now, especially after his assassination. His Easter message was all about Jesus. Amen. Thank you for that, yes. President Trump. Very different than what his messages were before. Not that it wasn't focused on religion, but this one seemed a little bit more personal for him. So I don't know. Yeah, I was going to say something else. I can't remember now.
Okay. Well, let me get to some of this other stuff. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch my broadcast here. Please, if you would, bless me by hitting the thumbs up. You know, I've been doing this broadcast at 11 o'clock for maybe a couple months now. So I'm really happy to be here and to share my information with all of you. Do you remember what you're going to say?
Well, I was just going to piggyback off of what you said, where you were saying, you know, the death, isn't it kind of weird that Pope Francis's death was the day after Easter? Mm-hmm. And maybe there is something a little symbolic in that. You know, Jesus died for our sins. And yep. What did he say when he left?
It is done.
It is done, and I will be coming back again, right? He said he'll be back.
Yeah.
So could this be setting the stage for him coming back? I don't know.
You know, there's still some other things that need to take place. Like
yes,
the third
and actually
temple.
It's interesting too.
The third temple needs to be rebuilt.
I really want to plug this again on End Time Ministries, just because we have a lot of love for End Time Ministries.
Yes.
You know, we've learned a lot from End Time Ministries, how they talk about Revelations very biblically. And they were even talking about the trumpets, how we've already, I think they said already 5 or 6 trumpets have happened. And they said on their Facebook page this past weekend how they believe the next trumpet is World War III.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that.
And they give fact. I mean, they always back up what they say, people. So if you want something to really watch, even if you're on the fence about this, go watch End Time Ministries.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about politics. You know, Will Johnson talking about religion and politics. Well, if you read the Bible, you realize there's politics all throughout the Bible. But that's a whole completely different discussion. We want to talk about how the Democrats right now are imploding. They're imploding. There's a civil war going on inside of the Democrat Party. And they have their new DNC vice chair like doing a coup inside of the Democrat Party. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about David Hogg, or David Hogg, way you pronounce it, David Hogg. And he's wanting to get rid of all of these Democrats that will, you know, for the most part, sometimes will side with Republicans because they're part of the establishment. And, you know, the Rhino Republicans, they'll side with the Democrats. But he's wanted to get rid of all of them and want to replace them all with activists. You know what? You know who David Hogg reminds me of? Or you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of someone coming up in the ranks in the 1930s, early 1940s Germany. That's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of someone like that coming up in the ranks. And he has that communistic mentality. And he wants to get rid of everyone who's not going to get on board of being just completely radical. And that's what he wants. He wants people like Representative Chris Van Hollen. He wants people like that. That's going to be activists, not going to do anything for the American people, not do anything for the constituents. He wants people like that to go advocate and fight for illegal criminals, MS-13, and not the American people. He actually says it. So we have this article here, Shannon.
Yeah, I just want to bring up, there's a whole bunch of controversy about this. David Hogg, like you said, announces a group that has $20 million initiative to support primary challenges to House Democrats. Now, one caveat, one thing about this, Will, is they need to be 30 years or younger. That's right. He says that they need new blood, basically new indoctrinated blood, in the House.
So what does this do for Chuck Schumer? What about Nancy Pelosi?
He's not.
What about Maxine Waters?
He did say that he likes that. He likes anybody that pushes back against President Trump. He's a little bit discouraged with Schumer right now because of the debt bill, the CO. But as far as Pelosi, he named her. She's safe. I'm sure Maxine Waters is safe. If you're not trashing
the ones that
Trump,
are really radical,
if you're not trashing Trump,
on
you're
a constant
on the
basis,
chopping block,
on a constant basis,
right? Has nothing. This is not, oh, you're such a great representative for the people in your area. This is, you're not an activist and you're not being hateful enough towards the Republican Party. That's exactly what it is. They are a hate group that's perpetuating hate. You need to hate the other side or we're going to primary you. That's what they're saying. Even if it's a safe Democrat seat, they're saying if you have not been vocal enough against Trump, we're going to replace you with a 30-something or a 20-something, I should actually say.
An activist.
And you need to be for climate change, and you need to be against the Second Amendment, and you need to be, the one thing that he says is affordable housing. Of course, everybody wants affordable housing, and we know that one thing that's driven up unaffordable housing right now is the illegal immigrants. We do know that. Even the Biden administration had admitted that.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think was happening with David Hogg? Let me paint a picture really quick for you. And thank you so much for hitting the thumbs up. Thank you so much for hitting the thumbs up, no matter how you're watching this, because it helps with the algorithm. President Trump, he came into office in 2016. And the Republican Party, the establishment Republican Party, they were tooth and nail trying to fight against President Trump from coming in. Why? Because President Trump was not controlled by the establishment. President Trump, as of today, and thank God that he is back in the White House, and thank God he is doing what he's doing. President Trump has technically changed the Republican Party. Not completely what President Trump has done. He has brought the Republican Party back to its original roots, fighting for the American people, regardless of your complexion, fighting for the sovereignty of our country, fighting so we can have jobs in America, fighting for our rights, everything that the Democrats say that they want to go for, and they never do, because they always talk about women's rights, et cetera, et cetera. They're never for it. They tell everyone that they are, but they never do. And see what President Trump has done, and is now that we have the MAGA party, right? It's the MAGA Republican Party. Let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Because remember, during the last couple of elections, and even the midterms, they kept saying the MAGA Republicans, the MAGA Republicans. We got to stop these MAGA Republicans. And now that the MAGA Republicans have won, for the most part, and it is still a work in progress, the Democrats believe that they need to do the same thing within the side of the Democrat Party. But instead of them going with rational thinking people, they're doubling down on the insanity that they're pushing onto our society. They're doubling down on it. Is anyone else seeing this? And I'm trying to, I'm sitting there looking at all of this and I'm observing and I'm trying to figure out exactly how to put this out there without people I think people understand it because, I like to talk in simple terms, right? Because I'm just a simple man myself, but I like to talk in simple terms. President Trump, he has done something that both the Republicans, the establishment, and the Democrats, they thought it would never happen. They thought they had complete control over that bird, because it's one bird, two wings, left wing, right wing. But President Trump is riding that bird because the Democrats, they can't think about nothing. They can't do nothing unless it is trying to go against President Trump. And then you got the establishment right. They'll side with the Democrats just to try to stop President Trump because they think about Trump and they think about Trump. I've never seen anything like it before. I mean, that's all that they do. All roads lead right back to Trump. People may not like what I'm saying, but it's true. Even when it comes to the liberal media, all of the media, President Trump sneezes, they all wonder, oh, what's going on? I mean, why is it like that? President Trump controls them right now. President Trump can come out right now, do a press conference and say XYZ about what he's getting ready to do and just round up all of these criminals because they've already broken the law. Is President Trump, he is the commander-in-chief in the United States of America. He is the commander-in-chief. It is his job and it is his duty to remove the criminal element within inside of our country. It's his job. If he doesn't do it, then we all get to complain and say he didn't do his job. See, before President Trump, the federal government was actually bringing in the criminals. They were not stopping it. Mayorkas constantly said, the border's secure. He kept saying it, the border's secure. Knowing good and well that all the video footage of them coming across, and he would constantly say the border's secure. And now the very same people that the Biden administration and the Democrats brought into the country without any vetting, mind you, they didn't go through any process. There was no process other than where you going? Okay, here you go. That's what they call the process. But now they want these people that are on the terrorist watch list to get due process. And then when they do get due process, it's still not enough. For example, the guy that they deported, what's his last name? Carlos or something like that. I can't remember. It's not even really important. The guy that they exported to El Salvador, the MS-13 member.
Oh, Abrego Garcia.
Oh, Garcia. Thank you so much. I wasn't even close at all. Garcia. They deported him to El Salvador, right? I'm not being honest here. Full transparency here. So they deported him to El Salvador, and he's down there. And the Democrats know that he's part of MS-13. He got due process in 2019, but they want him to have more. And they keep saying he needs to come back. Well, if you bring him back and then you can deport him after he gets due process. No, he's already received due process. It would never be enough. Let me give you an example really quick, and then I'm got something I want to share with you with this dude about how they're imploding. Let me just give you an example, and I'm going to have to talk about this in a roundabout way for obvious reasons, and you'll see why, because we're on Facebook and YouTube. When Obama was in office, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of sodomy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So people that are married, same-sex marriage, sodomy, they ruled in favor of it. The Supreme Court is not supposed to pass any laws, but yet nonetheless, Obama was there. The Democrats, they knew they couldn't pass it in Congress, so that's the reason why they went to the Supreme Court. My point in saying all of that is that just imagine you're on, for example, the Titanic, right? The Supreme Court just allowed sodomy, right? And we see a lot of that happening across the country right now. But let's just pretend we're all on the Titanic and we're in a compartment. We have air in there. We have a little food in there. And if we can chill just a little bit, we just might get rescued. Maybe. I don't know. Right? This is just hypothetically speaking here. But someone that's in the chamber with us in the room says, I'm really thirsty. Now the Titanic, we're under the water, but I'm really thirsty. I just want to open up the door just a little bit, let a little water in so we can have just a little water. And we're like, no, you can't let the water in. Can't let the water in. Well, people argue, and then they go and they let just a little bit of water in. What happens? You open up the door just a little bit, all the water comes in. That's exactly what the Democrats have been doing with our country. Same thing what they're doing with these illegals. They want to bring them back and let them in just a little bit, give a little leniency to these terrorists, to these criminals. And once they give a little leniency, then they all get leniency. It all happens. They're trying to undermine President Trump in doing his job. That's the whole objective here. Try to undermine President Trump. And President Trump is saying no, rightfully so. Rightfully so. If he doesn't do it, then it'll never get done. He's already had due process. But the Democrats are willing to die on that hill because they're doubling down. Listen to David Hogg as he's going after Democrats. They're not radical enough. Is it muted over there? You got me muted again. Can you unmute me there?
Well, so here's James Carville. Here's what he had to say about your idea. Take a listen.
The most insane thing I ever heard is the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee is spending $20 billion running against other Democrats. Aren't we supposed to run against Republicans?
What's your response?
What's his plan to deal with our 27% approval rating? That's my question to him. The fact of the matter is right now, our party is in a crisis. We are seeing people lose faith in our party. They're losing faith in democracy across the country.
You know what? Let me stop it really quick. I'm sorry. He says people losing faith in our democracy. See, the Democrats believe that the Democrat Party is the party of democracy. That's why a lot of times they refer to themselves as the Democratic Party, and there's nothing democratic about them. I mean, absolutely nothing democratic about them. They put that in there and they put it out like that to manipulate people. They are the Democrat Party. And of course, I was at the end because that's who they truly are, the Democrat Party. But they're not democratic. And they're 27 approval rating because of people like him. More people in this country don't want their children to have any association with people like him because what they're doing to their kids.
And we need to make sure that we're getting people to vote for Democrats, not simply because we're not Donald Trump, but because we have a better message, a better option for them. Not simply the less bad of two options, as I think Carville tries to promote when he says, well, we just shouldn't say anything. Carville believes in a politics of being timid, of hiding. I believe in fighting. And that is what people want to see right now from the Democratic Party. And we just saw an example of that with Senator Van Hollen going to El Salvador to say, we need to meet with this man. And yes, Democrats obviously are in the minority right now, but let's be clear, we cannot win back the majority if we do not convince the American people that our party offers something that isn't just not Donald Trump, but is substantially better than Donald Trump, that fights to lower costs for Americans across the country, whether it's healthcare, housing, or the foundational building blocks of the American dream that feels so out of reach for people, or addressing gun violence. We can't simply just hide, as Carville repeatedly promotes, not to mention the fact that, frankly, he has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time for some new voices in our party.
When were you born?
2000.
Well, I guess that. So anyway, I can hear James Carville's head exploding all the way from New Orleans when you called him timid. And James, you're welcome back on the show next week. And
Happy to talk more.
And you can respond.
Wow. I'm telling you right now, there's a civil war going on inside of the Democrat Party. There's a civil war going on. And this nut job, David Hogg, his objective is to get rid of all of the Democrats that have the slightest rational thinking about them. If you're not going full on commie, he wants you to go away. He wants you to go away.
Let me ask you something, Will. Do you know where David Hogg graduated college from?
Where?
A college is very much in the news this past
Harvard?
week. He graduated from Harvard. 2023.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Now, I think he got a full ride, I believe, because, he became an activist after the shooting that he attended, high school shooting that he attended. But good for him.
Yeah, that's how he got his recognition.
Yeah, but
right? Because of that.
He's definitely done something with it. You know, he did not let that tragedy.
He's riding it.
Yep.
He's riding it.
Yeah, he sure is.
He's absolutely riding. Well, I have another one for you that I want to share with you. And of course, the reason why I'm sharing this dude with you is because I believe that he is the up and coming version of what took place in Germany in the 1930s. I mean, if y'all don't see it, then you're not wanting to see it. I mean, there's something truly unstable with this dude.
What we need to be doing is looking to elect people specifically like Senator Van Hollen. We're meeting this moment and not just saying, well, we don't have power, we can't do anything, but putting action behind his words, going to El Salvador to meet with the man that was abducted by Donald Trump and his administration.
Wow.
As an admission of their own accident, like they talked about. We need people that are there to fight and meet this moment and show that Democrats aren't just saying a bunch of talking points or just waiting for midterms to take action against Donald Trump.
I mean, y'all seeing this? You seeing this? He's wanting to get all of these activist Democrats. And you know what? I kind of want to encourage him to continue. I want to encourage him to continue down the path that he's on right now. Because if it's upsetting James Carville, it's upsetting other predominant Democrats too. I mean, it's even upsetting some of the most radical ones. And I'm going to show you that. But listen to this, because he goes on ABC, which I'm kind of surprised ABC was arguing with him. And I think the only reason why ABC on here was arguing with him, because they see that the Democrat Party is going to end up collapsing with people like him. Maybe, just maybe, David Hogg is a plant. I didn't think about that.
This was not an MS-13 gang member, and you damn well know that.
Oh, come on.
He was not.
Okay,
and
so keep defending this guy.
The administration admitted this was wrong. In America, we have due process, and we are a land of law and order. We are a land of law and order. And this administration is repeatedly showing time and time again, they do not care about what the Supreme Court says. They do not care about the rule of law. And you cannot defend sending people to another country.
Just did a poll
to another country where they don't have
Americans
rights.
Think that all illegal immigrants should be deported, by the way. So you're losing.
See, David Hogg, I'm telling you, dude is so radical. He don't even want to acknowledge the truth. And Shannon, have you seen the picture that they show with President Trump holding the picture of the dude's knuckles, where he got the tattoos on the knuckles?
I have seen it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so on his hand it doesn't say MS-13 on his hand, but each tattoo represents MS-13.
Doesn't the last one say 13 though? Like the last 1, 3?
It's like a skull or something.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe there's a 13 in the skull. Yeah, it's
definitely symbols.
But come to find out, each one of those symbols represent MS-13. And you don't get those symbols unless you do something to earn them.
Listen, here's the battle. These Democrats, they want to paint the picture that it's the Republicans that are not for the Constitution, that they're breaking the Constitution. They want to act like Trump is the one that thinks he's above the law, when consistently now we have seen that Democrats have gone above, even AOC was telling Biden that he just don't listen to the Supreme Court. They found so many loopholes for their crime and their fraud or whatever, and so we're looking, and we know now that you can find a judge that's going to rule however you want them to rule. I mean, it's just our judiciary system. You can't sit there and tell me that all these judges are ruling against, Trump, when we now know that a lot of them are activists. We know that there's a judiciary weaponization that has occurred in America. And so we need to clean it up, Will. We need to fix it. I'm tired of this being a talking point of the Democrat Party. Trump needs to fix it. I don't know. Bondi, what is she doing? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, when Bondi, you were hitting it. I think you hit the nail on the head with Bondi when the whole stuff first started happening, because but I keep trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
I don't even want to give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't think she's strong enough.
Let me say, I keep trying to give it to her. Yeah. Maybe, just maybe, that they're getting everything in all their ducks in a row, and they're going to do this massive sting of all of these corrupt people. just maybe that's going to happen. But
she definitely has something to prove.
She does have something to prove.
She has something to prove.
But the reason why I say that is because let's remember, Dan Bongino is now associated with this. Him and Kash Patel. So I can't imagine that Dan Bongino is going to be there. I mean, they only have how many months until the midterm election?
I mean,
that's all they have. They don't have 4 years. They don't have 4 years. They only have until the midterm election, because if they do what I think they're gonna, well, we already know what they're gonna try to do. If they attempt to do what I believe that they're gonna attempt to do in the midterm election, and they get away with it, that means President Trump will be the first president in American history that will have 3 impeachments under his belt. I don't think people realize that.
Do you think though that if he gets impeached, that the Senate would allow it to happen?
Huh? Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because think about it right now. There's a bill that's sitting on the Senate side right now, and they haven't even brought it up. Maybe they're going to bring it up today now that Easter's over with. I don't know.
Which bill are you talking about, for the rogue judges?
The Act bill. The SAVE Act. Right? Didn't it pass in the House?
It did, yeah.
Pass in the House, and where's it sitting right now?
That's true.
It's sitting in the Senate.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're waiting on.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're waiting on, and I'm not really happy with the House either, because the House, every time President Trump does an executive order, new bill. Executive order, bill. Executive order, bill. And it could be one bill, one thing in the bill.
Absolutely.
The one executive order, that
real
one
easy.
bill.
It'd be a lot easier to pass.
It's a no-brainer.
Single ones, right? Mm-hmm.
It's a no-brainer. And then if they have 5 or 10 single bills, then talk about those 10 single separate bills in one day. I mean, my goodness, people, do your jobs. But let me play this one. Here's another radical demon crap. And he's not happy with David Hogg. He's not. Now, he's asked a question about David Hogg wanting to primary all of these other Democrats, and he just goes off in a little tantrum, and he really never addresses it.
David Hogg, who I know you know, a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, he's going to be joining us on the roundtable, and he is pursuing this effort to unseat some Democrats in safe seats through primary challenges. He's talked about a culture of seniority politics that is not working for the party. He said, quote, "We need a better Democratic Party and need to get rid of the Democrats in safe seats who do not understand what is at stake now, who are asleep at the wheel, not meeting the moment, and are a liability now into the future of our party." What's your response to this idea of targeting some of your Democratic incumbents?
Well, I look forward to standing behind every single Democratic incumbent, from the most progressive to the most centrist and all points in between.
See, he's not gonna deviate away from any Democrat, because they know at the end of the day, the Democrats are going to be against President Trump. They're just not being outspoken. They're not being activists. But they're all going to be against America. They're all going to be against President Trump. He knows this. But he's not happy with David Hogg, because David Hogg, he's just bringing to the surface the civil war that they're having. And David Hogg, he's doing a coup against the Democrats.
They're working hard in their communities, rising to the occasion. This past week, we had, of course, a Medicaid Matters Day of Action, a Safe Social Security Day of Action. And we have to continue to do all of the things: rallies, town hall meetings in Democratic districts, town hall meetings in Republican districts, days of action, telephone town hall meetings, site visits, press conferences. We are in a more is more environment, and more is going to continue to be required of all of us. Now, the House is the institution that is known to be, was built to be the closest to the American people. That's why we have elections every 2 years. Primaries are a fact of life. But here's the thing. I'm going to really focus on trying to defeat Republican incumbents so we can take back control of the House of Representatives and begin the process of ending this national nightmare that's being visited upon us by far-right extremism.
So what about David Hogg and the coup civil war with inside the Democrat Party? He didn't even address it. David Hogg has $20 million Not sure where he got it from, but he's the vice chair of the DNC. Doesn't he have some legal issues that he's going through? Did they just make that go away?
Hogg?
Yeah.
Yeah, suppose he would. I'm not sure
what did they do? Just make it go away?
He was being accused of some fraud.
Yeah, for like campaign.
Yeah,
some campaign fraud, right?
Yeah,
but
we'll see.
Democrat, they just make it go away.
Yep, they make it go away.
So Shannon, you have to lead us into this one. I haven't seen this one. Lead us into this.
Okay. So, we're talking about rogue judges. We were just talking about it briefly. Well, this is the El Salvador president, Bukele, at CPAC. And he was invited to CPAC, and because he's cleaned up Venezuela a lot. And he said it's not enough to just, arrest people and get things done. He says, you got to get rid of these rogue judges. Listen to this.
But jumping out of the water when it's already boiling is an almost impossible feat. You are not there yet. And believe me, you don't want to be. We did the unthinkable to cleanse our society. We arrested the terrorists, but we have to remove corrupt judges and corrupt attorneys and prosecutors.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that.
He just cleaned up, Venezuela pretty well. And listen, when you have a judicial system that is broken, they're going to allow the lawbreakers to continue. This is one reason why I believe they're really going after Trump, because they know that he does have some power to get rid of these people. We need to start impeaching them. It says that we can. They've already proved that historically we've done it before. Let's impeach these people. Come on, the House. Come on, Congress. Let's get busy.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing.
People, you know what? This is what I don't like. We won. Republicans won. And now we're quiet. We're like, okay, we're done. We're going to sit back. We need to be on the phones. When these people are at the capitals, we need to be at the capitals too, saying, listen, we want these rogue judges gone. We don't want them flying to El Salvador on our money to go talk to MS-13 gangbanger. That's not what we want. We need to be just as loud and obnoxious as these Democrats are right now. So we know that our voice, we did vote with what we wanted, and we support it now. And now they need to be eliminated. Them going against the Trump administration, what we voted for, that is not democracy.
No, it's not.
It's chaos.
Yeah. So I have another one. We're talking about this. Here we go.
Exactly right, Griff. This is about who controls all those. And there's about 675 federal trial judges spread out all over the country. And some of them have been bringing the federal government, bringing President Trump's agenda to a screeching halt, even though they don't have anybody, say, who works for the government or any of the illegal aliens or any of the spending in their own courtrooms. And so what's going on here, I think it's important to understand, is that the Supreme Court is already signaling that they're very sympathetic to the Trump administration. The Supreme Court scheduled oral argument for May 15th. It never hears cases in May. Usually they'd be done their business and they'd be sending out opinions by now. They've called basically a special session in order to hear President Trump's claims that there should not be unlimited nationwide injunctions, but that they should be under the control of the Supreme Court. Whether you agree or disagree with President Trump's order on birthright citizenship, they may not even get to the question, because the key thing here is for the Supreme Court to put an end to these 675 trial judges who all think they can run foreign policy, spending, and hiring throughout the federal.
Well, one thing at the beginning of this clip, you can see down at the bottom, it says at least 86 injunctions against President Trump, White House. I saw this meme, and it's just a meme. I don't know. I didn't have time to go look it up, but you know how many injunctions were under Obama, according to what I saw, Shannon? 0.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Obama?
Yeah, they didn't
0.
challenge him.
Bush, 0. Bill Clinton, 0. Joe Biden, 0.
Is this the weaponization of the judiciary system?
Yep, this is them weaponizing it against President Trump.
And you know what? I hear what he's saying, that their day is coming, But, yesterday, I want you to show this, this past week, I think it was Friday night, in the middle of the night, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that Trump could not use the Alien Act. Now, the problem is with this is several things. And Justice Alito, he wrote a dissent about this. And I'm just going to read just a little bit of it. He said he didn't align with them saying that Trump couldn't use the Alien Act. He said, in sum, literally in the middle of the night, the court ensued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule without a hearing from the opposing party within 8 hours of receiving the application with dubious factual support for its order and without providing any explanation for its order. So that's why he refused to agree with them. It was a 2-7 vote for that. But this is a problem. They didn't even, talk about due process. There is no due process because even the Supreme Court didn't follow their own precedented procedures when it came to voting on the Alien Act. This is very concerning.
Yeah.
This is really concerning. I mean, I fear for our country when we are allowing them to have this power over the executive branch, the person that we actually voted for. None of these people were voted for.
Yeah. None of them were
Trump
voted
said what his agenda was, and we all voted for it. We all agree with it. He's not doing anything he didn't tell us he was going to do.
The American people said, President Trump, we want you to deport these criminals.
Absolutely.
The American people said it.
Loud and clear.
The American people.
And guess what? We're a republic, but if they believe in democracy, guess what? That's democracy.
Yeah.
They don't like democracy if their tyrannical agendas are not what's in place. They want to do what they want to do. They don't care about what the majority of the Americans
saying we
want
to stop Trump, but ultimately they're saying we need to stop the American people.
And they're saying we want to be in power. Constantly, I'm hearing
love power.
We need power. We want to be in power. And Raskin almost admits it in these next few samples we're going to show.
Yeah. So here's Raskin. And of course, he's upset with President Trump deporting these hardcore criminals. All of them are. They're more concerned about the criminal element, as I've said multiple times, as you already know. They're more concerned about the criminals than they are the American people. Can you tell me why y'all would vote for Raskin or Democrats? Is there anybody watching right now? Can you tell me why voting for the Democrats right now is a valid option when they don't care about the American people? And it's not even me having to tell you that. The reason why I'm saying that is because that's what they're demonstrating. They're discriminating. I just said, and I can't say it again. They're demonstrating their hatred for this country. I mean, they really are. You know what? For the life of me, other than demons protecting demons, I mean, that's the only explanation I can come up with.
Yeah.
Because this is the year 2025, and they actually have fixed their minds because they've been turned over to a reprobate mind that fighting for these criminals is a positive thing to do.
But look, President Bukele, who's declared himself a dictator, and the other tyrants, dictators, autocrats of the world have to understand that the Trump administration is not going to last forever. We're going to restore strong democracy to.
Oh, let me stop it really quick. For everyone that's been watching me, and for everyone that they allow to watch me, okay, those of you, you know that I've been saying that as soon as the Democrats get into the position of taking down this country to prevent a President Trump from ever going back in the White House, and they want to prevent an Elon Musk from ever helping the American people. Do y'all understand what I'm telling you? How many times have I been saying that? And I've said, and the reason why I brought it up, because President Trump, just like these rogue judges, these rogue politicians, these DAs, these lawyers, all of these corrupt criminals in our society. If President Trump does not get them, if he don't get them, everything that Raskin is saying is going to come true, because he wants revenge, because President Trump is taking away their funding, USAID, taking away their power. They don't like it. Exposing them. They truly don't like it. Almost as much as they dislike the fact that he's taking their money away. But listen to what he says, because he actually said he's actually going to say what I've been telling everybody that they want to do. Now, I haven't had the conversation with this nutbird. I haven't, unless he's watching Will Johnson and say, well, Will Johnson said that we need to say this, so I'm going to say it. Watch, I got the proof.
We're going to restore strong democracy to America, and we will remember who stood up for democracy in America and who tried to drive us down towards dictatorship and autocracy. So I'm glad that Chris Van Hollen showed exactly where America is, and we're not afraid of any dictator anywhere.
And of course, he's alluding to that President Trump is a dictator in this country when we elected President Trump to be in a position. The only people that are dictators are those that's trying to force you to put something on your face and something into your body. That's the only dictators that exist, trying to force people to do something against their own will. Sound familiar to you? Did President Trump ever force anybody to do anything? Did he?
No.
No.
Not at all.
President Trump has never forced anybody. He didn't even force Jeff Sessions when Jeff Sessions was the Attorney General. And he didn't even force Attorney General Barr when he was the Attorney General. He didn't force him. And it doesn't look like he's forcing Pam Bondi. I mean, it just looks that way. He says nice things about Pam Bondi, but I mean, my goodness, it's got to get back to him at some point. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, is this not crazy, though? Once again, if you support Trump, we're coming after you. That's basically what they're saying.
That's what he's saying.
We're going to retaliate. He's literally saying we're going to retaliate. What have the Democrats been saying about Trump supposedly retaliating? Oh, it's not. They shouldn't do that. You shouldn't retaliate.
Yeah.
That's not who we are.
Yeah.
Have you not heard that?
Oh, they constantly say it. But listen to this one. This is the catcher right here.
So I like that idea. And it's a compliment to something that we need to be doing right now, which is engaging in far more work of transnational democratic solidarity with the democratic governments and the democratic movements and peoples and parties of the world.
Totally agree.
To try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos.
You hear this? The lawlessness. Who is celebrating criminals? Who creates GoFundMe for criminals? Who's actually going outside of the United States of America to rescue criminals? He's talking about lawlessness. How many people have lost their lives in the United States of America because of the Democrat policies? And he has the nerve, the audacity to talk about lawlessness. Who is trying to push for cashless bail? Look, I don't know how else to explain this. But he's getting ready to lay it all out. Listen.
That's been unleashed against us. But implicit in it should be the idea that if and when we come back to power.
If and when we come back to power, y'all, I don't think y'all hearing me. I don't think y'all have heard me. Shannon, how many times? I've said it so many times. And I know I'm not the only one. But I've been screaming about what these Democrats plan on doing if they ever come back. If they ever get the White House, the House, and the Senate. Oh, my goodness. They're going to stack the Supreme Court. They're going to do so many tyrannical things. And he's saying it. Listen, he says the quiet part out loud.
The fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us. But implicit in it should be the idea that if and when we come back to power, and we will, we are not going to look kindly upon people who facilitated, to use a word of the day, who facilitated authoritarianism in our country. That's an assault on our Constitution and on our people.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I'm telling.
I have
hold
to
on.
do this. Oh my gosh!
Hold on.
Both of us are like, oh my gosh.
Okay, hold on. So y'all get this right? He's talking about fascism. You know, fascism are these Democrats. And again, the Democrats, they're all for the lawlessness is happening. If you're a store owner and someone tries to come in and rob your store and you end up protecting yourself and taking out the robber, the Democrats go after the store owner. Wow.
You can go further than that. What about if you want to go to school board and fight for your rights to have your children in school when something
exactly
a sickness is going on? What about when you want to fight for the religious rights for your children, who they voted for, that they don't want to be subject to men or young boys playing in girl sports? I mean, who are the people who weaponized the FBI against those people? The Democrats. Who unleashed Antifa onto the world after
the
George Floyd
Democrats
and Trump was elected the first time? The Democrats. Who had protests in the streets burning down businesses? Who caused all this vandalism onto these Tesla cars?
The Democrats.
Who is doing all of this?
And to go right along with what you're saying, Shannon,
if you see ICE disappearing people in the streets, will you get in the way? Yes. If you are charged with enforcing any part of the president's unlawful executive orders, will you resist? Yes. If your neighbor needs a place to hide, will you hide them? Yes. And right now, as the Maine legislature is trying to scapegoat transgender student athletes bargaining long-held civil rights away in hopes that it will save Maine federal funding, will you show up for them and say that our human rights aren't for sale? Yes!
So this person is actually calling for people to break the law, to hide criminal elements in their homes. They're actually calling for it. And who is this? Yeah. This is the Democrats. It's not conservatives. It's not Republicans. It's not Christians. It is straight up the Democrats.
Look at this. In New Mexico, just past week, New Mexico Democrat judge resigns after ICE arrests an alleged Tren de Agra gang member in his home. He was hiring these people to do work for him around the house and stuff. He let them live in his casita. And he literally was harboring them and trying to protect them from
And he was a
ICE.
Democrat judge.
Democrat judge.
You can't make it up.
Let's talk about lawlessness. Let's talk about fascism. Let's talk about chaos. Let's talk about the Democrat Party.
Yeah. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. Wow. All right, everybody. That is it for me. That is it for me for today. Today's Monday, April the 21st. We'll see you tomorrow. So, hey, do me a favor. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up. I know I'm constantly asking you to hit the thumbs up, but it absolutely works. It absolutely works. Right? If you want to help me, one of the biggest things you can do is hit the thumbs up for me. Right? Other than that, if you want to help me other ways by going to my website, most definitely you can do that. UniteAmericaFirst.com. You can see it right there. Sign up for the free newsletter. Or if you want to help me out monthly, you can. You can see it at the top right there if you click on that. And you can go to UniteAmericaFirst.com/donate. And there's different ways. You can do monthly. You got 4 different options right there, whichever one God puts on your heart to bless me. Or if you want to just do it one time, you can see those right there as well. Or my physical address. However you see fit. However you see fit. Whatever God puts on your heart, I greatly appreciate it. I need your support. All right, everybody, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some more crazy stuff to talk about. God bless.